You know, I was really excited to get these animated Dungeons & Dragons figures from Hasbro, but after seeing many posts on social media of people either receiving damaged or easily breakable figures inside these pretty nice looking plastic-free packages, would the figures that I bought have the same issue? Stick around to find out on this episode of Geek Dad Life. All right, I gotta fully admit that I am not the biggest Dungeons & Dragons diehard. I've played the game a few times. I've been a part of a few different Dungeons & Dragon parties before.
Shouldn't there be a board or some pieces or something to Jenga?
No, this is a role-playing game.
And the thing I probably enjoy the most is that original LJN toy line, and I did watch the original animated series as a kid. But when I first saw the renders of these animated style Dungeons & Dragons figures, I got really excited. It was nice to see Hasbro take a page out of the NECA playbook and give us, really nice looking animated style figures of a classic cartoon show from our childhood. I really hope they take this approach to other Saturday morning cartoons that they hold the license to, like The Real Ghostbusters. And I wanted to support this endeavor, one, because I like the character designs from the original cartoon, and these figures actually look pretty darn good. I also wanted to show them that this idea is successful enough for them to do it with other licenses. Again, Real Ghostbusters, please. So I went ahead and pre-ordered every figure from the first wave on HasbroPulse.com, and I was excited to eventually receive them. But then something happened as people started to find them at Target or get those orders from other toy retailers. And what was happening was a lot of the figures were showing up broken, or after maybe barely trying to, move the hands or arms or whatever, the parts were breaking off or snapping off of the figure. And my excitement turned to disappointment. These figures I was hoping would be a new standard by which Hasbro could follow for, other cartoon shows, as well as continuing this toy line. There's still essential characters that they haven't gotten to. Well, these figures did arrive from Hasbro Pulse, and before I even opened them, I did want to talk about the packaging. I think they did a pretty darn good job. I know plastic-free packaging is controversial, I understand that, but for me, I think the way they did it for these Dungeons & Dragons figures looks pretty darn cool. I love the original art from the cartoon series that's, featured throughout the boxes. So as far as plastic-free packaging goes, I think they did a pretty darn good job. The true problem is when us toy collectors have opened these things up. The first box I wanted to start with was the Avenger and Dungeon Master 2-pack. It's supposed to be a retailer exclusive at Target, but it's also on HasbroPulse.com. It's a pricey set at $50, but still seemed like it came with a lot. As I open it up, I started with the Dungeon Master, and co-host of Toy Geeks, John, his Dungeon Master had an issue with his hand where you couldn't really move it. Mine was really stiff as well. Honestly, I could feel a lot of resistance as I was trying to, move it from how it came out of the box. Luckily, I was able to move it without any issue. But one figure I did have an issue with was Avenger. His feet were kind of pushed in a weird position, so I was trying to get him in a standing position with those feet. And as it was really tight, and maybe I should have been more careful with it, but I didn't expect it to be that brittle. The foot snapped right off. So, right out of the box, the most expensive set, the figure broke. And which is a big bummer, because overall this is a pretty darn good looking figure. Actually, both figures look pretty good, but the arms and joints and hands everywhere are just so stiff and so tight that, they could break at any point. Even though the Avenger comes with 2 extra blast effect hands, I don't even want to use them out of fear that these will break as well. And I also like that we got this really cool background. But again, the fact that Avenger is broken and, his little skirt allows him to be displayed, he's kind of leaning a little bit, so maybe I could glue the foot together. But at $50, I want my figures to be not broken. The next figure that I opened up was Diana, and overall she was okay, but I did have an issue when I took the figure out of the box. It only came with 1 staff. It's supposed to have 2 staffs, one that kind of has this little twirling effect to it, as well as a normal staff. My box only came with the effect version of the staff, which is a bit of a bummer. Again, these are $25 for relatively small figures, and I would have expected a little bit more QC to ensure that we got all of the pieces that we're supposed to get. The Bobby and Uni set was the best out of my bunch. Didn't have any issues. Most of the joints felt just fine. Paint apps and everything were really good on it, so no issues with Bobby. And last but not least is my Hank figure. Now, he didn't have any issues. He didn't break or anything, but I did feel at every single point in his arms, especially in his hands. And again, I think Pixel Dan, he got 2 and they broke as he was trying to, get him to display to hold the bow. I can feel it. I can feel so much resistance on both hand pegs that they could easily break at any moment. So while it came out okay, I really hesitate from getting him into any different pose out of fear of him breaking, because I can definitely feel the resistance. I can't even really move this hand all that much without fear of breaking it. So again, The paint apps, everything looks fantastic on this figure, but the fact that these joints and these hand pegs and foot pegs are so brittle is a big problem. So the question now is, what happens next? I'm gonna try and get an exchange going with Hasbro. We'll see if that works, but I've seen for other people that hasn't worked either. They've sent them, different figures than the ones that were broken that needed replacement. But to be completely honest, this is the first impression and it is not a good one. So it's a shame that this is a line that I was really excited about, not just for the potential for, continuing this animated Dungeons and Dragons toy line, but for the possibility of other animated toy lines that they could do in the future. So Hasbro, I am done with animated Dungeons and Dragons, but I hope you get your act together for future ways for the die-hard Dungeons and Dragons fans or any other animated toy lines that you look to do in the future. If you'd like to keep watching, check out this video. And until next time, hasta luego and goodbye.